Jai Mahamaya Ki Jai Bole Baba Ki Jai. In our last discourse, we learned more about karma. And we're going to move on to chapter 12. King Janamajaya said, "Oh, Vedavyasa, tell me the names of the holy places of pilgrimage on the surface of this earth, the holy kshetras and the holy rivers. What are the fruits acquired in bathing there and in making charitable gifts as well? Also, what are the rules, how the journey and acts there are to be conducted?" Vedavyasa said, "Here I am describing to you various tirthas or places of pilgrimage, as well as those that are highly extolled as the best places, favorite to the Devi. Amongst the rivers, the following are reckoned as chief and holy: the Ganges, Yamuna, Saraswati, Narmada, Gandaki, Sindhu, Gomati, Tamasa, Kaveri, Saryu, Tapti, and Saraman. Besides these, there are hundreds of rivers on the surface of this earth. Of them, those that fall into the ocean, they are the holier, and those that have not reached the ocean are less holy. Of these rivers that fall in the ocean, those that are flow with great current, they are comparatively holier. The following are the famous places of pilgrimage calculated to bestow merits: Pushkara, Kuraksa, the holy Dharmarana, Pravasa, Prayag, Nimisrani, and Arbudharana. O king of the mountains, the following are considered as sacred: Sri Sailya, Sumeru. Of the lakes, the following are very holy and very famous: Mansarava, Aksoda, and Bindu Sarovas. These are the chief lakes. To those munis that meditate on their Atman, all the hermitages are sacred. Still, the hermitage of Badri is always considered very sacred and the most celebrated. Here, Nara and Narayana, the two famous munis, practice their asceticism. The Brahmasarama and Satya Asama are also well known. Thus, every hermitage is named after the muni that practiced asceticism there. Thus, innumerable holy places on the surface of the earth are mentioned by the munis as tending to sanctify the hearts of the persons. At all these holy sites, the Devi is worshipped in special sites consecrated to her. All the sins are destroyed by the mere sight. The devotees of the Devi stay there, with rules obeyed. I will mention afterwards some of these places in the course of my narration. O best of kings, going to these holy places, charity, vows, sacrifices, asceticism, and good acts all depend on one another. The holy places of pilgrimages, asceticism, and observance of vows depends on the purity of the articles, on the purity of one-pointedness of the action of Kriya, called Kriya Sudha, and on the purity of the mind and heart, Chitta Sudha. Some may attain the first, the Daya Shuddhi, and the Kriya Suddhi, but very few find it capable to attain the very difficult and rarely got Chitta Suddhi. O king, this mind always tries to seek shelter with various objects and is, therefore, always restless. How then can the purity of mind be effected with ease when it is occupied with all sorts of thoughts on various subjects? Cupidity, anger, pride, and egoism, these bring about all sorts of obstacles in the holy places of pilgrimages, in practicing tapasya, and in observing vows. O king, non-injury, truthfulness, non-stealing, chastity, and purity, controlling of the senses and observing one's own religion, all these bring about the fruits of the labor in visiting all tirthas. They bestow fruits that can be obtained by visiting all the tirthas. During one's pilgrimage, one forsakes one's nitya karma, daily duties, and one has to come in contact with various persons. Here, hence, one's jealousy becomes fruitless. Rather, it becomes a source of sin. The waters of the sacred place can only wash the outside dirt and the impurities of the physical bodies. They can never wash the impurities of the inner mind. Were it the fact that the waters of the tirthas could purify their minds, why was it then that the Munis, residing on the bank of the Ganges and devoted to God, ever indulged themselves with feelings of jealousy and enmity against each other? The humble Munis, like Vashishta, and the Rishi, like Vishvamitra, were always entangled in love and hatred, and they were ever impatient with anger. Therefore, it is evident that the internal purification, the purification of heart, the bathing in the Yana Ganga flowing within, no doubt removes more than the dirt, than the Ganges and other places of pilgrimage. O king, no doubt that this fact must be admitted on all hands, that one's impurity of mind is washed away by the strange combination of fate. One comes in intimate contact with a man possessed of the divine knowledge. O king, the Vedas or Sastras, vows or austerities, sacrifices or gifts, none can purify the heart. See, Vasistha, the son of Brahma, though versed in the Vedas and residing in the banks of the Ganges, was under the control of love, hatred, and other infirmities. Out of the enmity of Vishvamitra and Vasistha arose the great battle named Adi Baka, astonishing even to the gods. In this, the ascetic Vishvamitra was cursed by Vasistha on account of some curse to connection with the king Harischandra, and had to take his birth as a crane, a baka. And Rishi Vasistha was cursed also by Vishvamitra and was born as a bird named Sarari. Thus the two powerful rishis were born as Adi Baka and lived in the banks of the Mansarava, and they fought for full 10,000 years, terribly out of anger, with their nails and beaks like two maddened lions. The king asked, "Oh, Muni, why were the two Maharishis, the two great ascetics and devoted to religion, involved in enmity with each other? Both of them were intelligent. How was it that they, knowing of the act of cursing to be a source of pain to men, cursed each other so painfully?" Vedavyasa said, "O king, in former times there was born in the Solar dynasty a king, Harischandra, the son of Trisanku. He was the best of the kings and reigned before Ramachandra. That king had no issue and therefore promised to Varuna, O Lord of waters and oceans, if I get a son born to me, I will perform a sacrifice called Naramidya, where I will sacrifice my son for your perpetuation." Varuna was very pleased with the king when he made such a vow, and the exquisitely beautiful queen held the fetus in her womb. Seeing his wife in the family way, the king was very pleased and performed all the perfunctory ceremonies pertaining to the fetus in the womb. O king, when the queen was delivered of a son endowed with all auspicious signs, the king Harischandra was very glad and performed duly all the jata karma, the natal ceremonies, and distributed as charity big sums of gold and many cows, giving good quantities of milk. When the festivities on the birth of the child was celebrated in the palace on a grand scale, Varuna, the lord of waters, assuming the form of a Brahma, came up there. The king, too, honored him duly with seed and worshipped him regularly and asked him about his purpose. When Varuna spoke to him, "O king, I am Varuna, the lord of waters. You promised before that you would perform this special sacrifice where you would sacrifice your son. How do those things now do those things and keep your words to me?" The king became very much confused and was very much pained in his heart. He then checked his mental feelings of pain and spoke to the Deva Varuna with folded hands. "O Lord, I will do the sacrifice duly and fulfill the promise that I made before and keep my word. But, O best of the Devas, my legal wife will be pure from her time after 1 month. Then I will perform the Naramita sacrifice." Vedavyasa said, "O king, hearing thus the words of the king Harischandra, Varuna returned to his own abode. The king also became glad, but he was somewhat anxious for fear of the destruction of his child. When 1 month was complete, the sweet-speaking Varuna, the holder of the noose, assuming the form of a pure Brahmin, again came there to the place of the king to examine him. The king worshipped him duly and gave him a seat to sit and spoke with humility. "O Lord, my son is not yet purified. How can he be tied to the sacrificial post for being immolated? Therefore, I will perform that sacrifice when the boy becomes cleansed after a purificatory rite and becomes a Kshatriya. O Deva, if you know me as your humble servant, have mercy on me. I will then consider myself as blessed." See, the children not passed through purificatory rites are not entitled to get any act, therefore wait for some time longer. Varuna said, "O king, you are deceiving me and putting me off the time longer and longer. I now see that you were issueless before, and now that you have got a son, you are bound up in the indissoluble affection for a son. Whatever it be, I now go back to my house at your pitiful request. I will wait for some time longer, and I will come again. O child, let you then be true to your words. If it be otherwise, I will surely curse you, and thus give vent to my angry feelings." The king said, "O Lord of the waters, after the completion of the Samavartan ceremony, a pupil's return home after finishing his holy study, I will duly sacrifice my son at the great sacrifice. This is no doubt." Varuna was very pleased at the king's words and quickly went back, saying, "Let it be so." The king also became comforted. On the one hand, the king Harishchandra's son became widely known by the name of Rohita, and as he got older, he became gradually versed in all the sciences and became very clever and intelligent. That boy then came to know by degree the cause of the sacrifice in full detail, and knowing that his death is quite certain, became very afraid and quickly fled away from the king and went and stayed in caves and mountains with a fearful heart. Then when the proper time came, Varuna came up there to the royal palace, desirous to have the sacrifice, and spoke to the king thus: "O king, now the prescribed time has come, therefore perform the sacrifice that you have resolved to celebrate." The king was very much pained to hear this and spoke with very sad appearance. "O best of the Devas, what can I do now? My son has fled away out of the fear of his life. I do not know his whereabouts." Varuna became very angry and at these words and cursed him thus: "O liar, you are a hypocrite, pundit. Therefore you receive me frequently. Let therefore the diseased dropsy come and attack your body." Varuna, the holder of the noose, cursing thus, went back to his own abode. The king was attacked with the disease, remained in his own residence, afflicted with cares and anxieties. Rohita, the son of Harischandra, heard about the severe illness of the father when he was very much tormented with that disease as the curse of Varuna. One day a traveler told him, "O son of the king, your father is very ill with dropsy due to the curse and is very sorry. Certainly your brain has turned wrong. Vain is our coming into this world. You have passed your life to no purpose, for you are staying still in this mountain cave, abandoning your sorrowful father. Certainly you are a bad, disobedient son. What use is there in keeping up this body? What purpose will you be served by your birth? When you have got this body, you have abandoned the Father and are staying in a solitary cave. Know this as certain, that to sacrifice one's life is the duty of a good and obedient son. Therefore, what more shall I say now than that your father, the king Harischandra, ailing from a severe illness, is very sorry for you and is always weeping. Vedavyasa said, O king, hearing from the pastor these good words, the prince Rohita wanted to go to his sorrowful father, attacked with the disease, when Indra, assuming a Brahmin form, came up to him and began to speak to him when he was alone, like one who was filled with misery. O son of the king, you are full. Are you not positively acquainted with the fact that your father is in trouble? Why then do you intend in vain to go there? Here ends the 12th chapter in the cause of the war between Asi and Bak, in the 6th book of the Mahapurana of Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharishi Veda Vyasa. Jai Mahamaya Ki Jai.